Hi, Max Salazar. Welcome back to my channel, Draconum Dawn, where I read my book, Draconum Dawn, to you for free. If you happen to like this format and you have not yet subscribed, please do so and hit the like button while you're at it. I mentioned in the past that I was working on some graphics to hopefully include in the videos. I do have a few. I have not yet incorporated them. I am going to be working on that, along with maybe even including some music and some sound effects. I don't know when I'm going to get that done, though. I have a lot to do. I'm working full time on top of it. Um, but either way, soon enough, I'll get it on there and make this a much more enjoyable experience for you. All right, with that, I'm going to continue on. We're still on part one, and I'm going to be reading to you chapter 7. Jack. General Jack sat atop a carved granite seat as he peered at the vast images of the human pestilence that continued to plague Tur, with their buildings, roads, and farms replacing the new nature of the planet with tar, cement, and refined metals. They knowingly squandered the scant resources of Tur, yet continued to multiply unabatedly without regard to the increasing damage they left behind. The Quets, Jack observed, were mindful of the planet's ecology and made use of the bountiful natural domiciles she provided. Child rearing was selective and cautious, and never a burden on their world, but rather a means to be a continued caretaker for Tur. Unfortunately, the 8 men went unchecked. Millennia ago, Jack's ancestors failed to foresee the anguish this horrific race would unleash. Even as he sat there, pondering over their disposable mentality, he knew too of their machinations for a ceaseless internal war, always murdering one another for control of dwindling resources, including the black blood of his ancestors that ran deep underground. For his society, technology helped to unburden their minds of the fear of limited raw materials and encourage them to further open their minds to new possibilities. For mankind, war was the catalyst to burgeoning scientific and engineering advancement. Yet, despite all of their achievements, they ceased to further evolve and remained genetically stagnant. If the entire planet was to survive until the next age, the time of celestial enlightenment, humans, as they called themselves, needed to be eradicated. Begrudgingly, he realized that he needed to bring more to humanity and erase their pestilence for the betterment of all life, fauna, and flora. But first, he needed to quietly remove the Chancellor and put himself in her place. All of this could be done without any loss of life. It was a mere political play, nothing more. His down feathers tingled nervously as he concluded this line of thought. A second later, and his privacy shield began to shimmer, signaling a presence outside of his quarters. He looked towards his crystalline monitor and saw that it was a clan elder Vol, who was draped in extravagant silver robes, probably on a mission of faux diplomacy on the Supreme Chancellor's supposed behest. He glanced at his monitor briefly before closing his eyes. Thoughts of the delicacy of his coup pummeled his mind. No bloodshed, he thought. No loss of life, especially Kira's. A full minute passed before he opened his eyes. Vol was still there, standing patiently outside and as diplomatic as ever. But maybe a little tact was what was needed here. Despite their political rivalry and personal animosity, the two were cordial to one another. Stretching his old leathery legs, he stood up from his perch and vocalized a command to power down the entrance barrier. Elder Vol, please come in, he clucked. I was just about to prepare myself some fermented cassava wine. Would you care for some? The old general strutted over to his kitchen and reached for 2 large obsidian drinking vessels from beneath a polished white granite counter. General, it seems that your hollow recorder is activated. Does something worry you about my presence? Vol grinned slightly, showing his brilliantly polished teeth. Nonsense, Wall. I just completed some internal military messages for my senior staff. Another cluck, this one higher in pitch, deactivated the sensors and their accompanying lights. You see, all off. Wine. He motioned the well-toned wing towards the extravagant bar. Ball paused and for a brief moment considered if perhaps diplomacy was an option. Wine would be lovely at this hour. Thank you very much for your hospitality. The two elders sat and reminisced for several minutes, each enjoying the drink, but also being careful not to overindulge. They both needed their senses honed to a talon's edge. Sensing the evening proceeded well beyond what he intended, Ball changed the topic. General, my apologies for this formality, but I did come here on business at the bequest of the Supreme Chancellor. He wondered if this official title would ruffle Jack's feathers, but the general maintained a stony composure. He proceeded. The Chancellor is concerned about the safety of our nest as well as all those around Ter during the construction of the space vessel Toronto 1. The bipeds continue to develop the remote sensing abilities and have begun to refine the hyperspectral capabilities. She is also concerned about a potential insurrection within our own halls. He stared with stony eyes at the general again, waiting for some physical response. Elder Ball, please pass on to the Supreme Chancellor that she may rest assured that despite my opposition to our departure, I am sworn to openly obey her wishes and will do my utmost to protect our race. His words resonated with honesty. Ah, of course. Loyalty is most certainly bred into you military types. The question, Vol, is why is it not bred into yours, eh? Jack's words came out like fine silk. Well, we just don't wear it on our robes as your clan does. We pride ourselves on our refined thinking. The Supreme Chancellor, Kira, only insists that you fully support her as you said you would 2 weeks ago at the Council of Elders. Her Excellency has never questioned me openly. Why would she start now, comrade? He asked, using the old tongue. Ball shifted his weight to the left and tucked in his right wing closer to his body as he sat perched in the coarser seat offered to him. I am not here to ruffle any feathers, comrade, only to ensure everyone's safety over the next Del rotation. And what do any of us have to fear? Assassination. After Supreme Chancellor Insul's murder, the entirety of this hold is set to alert my forces and lock all beings in place should a burst weapon be activated. The culprit would be caught immediately. Or have you forgotten that no one can get away with murder now? Our newly installed motion sensors also track everyone's movement. The Socran Elder's statement moved his well-manicured talons fitfully. No one has ever forgotten anything, Jack. We are still aware of our new security measures. Regardless, my sister lays encapsulated in stone in these very halls as a reminder of the first and what we hope will be the last assassination of a Supreme Chancellor. Val's voice wavered and his feathers shivered. And exactly who murdered her, Jack thought. The imposing military expert thought he knew how, but only his own discarded feathers were found in Insul's quarters. Plumage he molted nearly 17 Del rotations ago, when he visited her last in her private quarters. We aren't sure if it was murder. She could have sent herself to Spirit Ter by her own wing. It is highly doubtful, I submit. The leader of the Socrans rose from his perch and inflated his chest at hearing Jack. I have said what needed to be said. The Supreme Chancellor demands our loyalty. I am done here. He sneered as he turned his beak away from the brutish warrior, his diplomacy fully swept aside. Elder Val, one other thing to pass on to your niece, and I am sure that you will pass it on. He remained calmly seated. Let her know that if she needs at any time, feels for her safety, that I will personally accompany Lieutenant Colonel Aquila to add to her personal guard. Certainly. Val spat. All right, that ends our episode for the day, and hopefully I'll get some more out again on Monday, next Monday. All right, thank you all, and I hope you have a good one. Bye.